So when Devin White was selected with the 5th overall pick from Tampa Bay, it was an interesting selection. I think a lot of Tampa Bay fans wanted Josh Allen in that spot, not because they didn't love Devin White as a prospect, but more so Josh Allen was just this hugely hyped up prospect. It seemed like he fell into their lap after the Oakland Raiders decided not to select him. So now with him being available, a lot of Tampa Bay fans wanted Josh Allen, although they were kind of, getting Devin White is certainly a pretty great consolation prize. And while it can still be debated who is better, White or Josh Allen, I think personally, in my opinion, I definitely think they're a lot closer than I thought they were going to be coming into the draft. And I do think that Devin White fits this Tampa Bay system perfectly, and he probably is better off with Tampa Bay than they would be with Josh Allen, even though they are both great players. I think my favorite thing about Devin White, A, is that Devin White is already playing at such a high level, but B, that he's just kind of the guy who he does it all, which is very necessary for a middle linebacker. And I think the middle linebacker position is now just as important as it ever has been. Because of the way teams like to run the ball and then run play action, get linebackers out of position and throw it over them, the linebacker position is becoming more and more important as the years go by. So I do think that having a good middle linebacker, especially someone you can pair with Levante David, who we all know what he can do, it does a lot for Tampa Bay. Like on this play, it's going to be zone coverage, which is actually good for Jacksonville. They have a concept that is actually great against zone coverage. First, they're going to have a receiver run underneath like that, which will get into the bottom portion of Devin White's zone. And then what they're going to do is have another receiver on the bottom half of the screen run just past Devin White's zone. So basically, the idea is that White can only cover one of those two Jaguars players. If he runs deep, then Foles just hits the underneath guy, and if he runs underneath, well, then Foles throws over the top of him. There already is a gap in coverage, but now it'll be even wider, and then potentially you can gain a first down. And so after the ball is snapped, as you see, there definitely is a window for Foles to try to make this throw, because you look at White, he has moved in a little bit, making sure he is covering up a player who is underneath, which makes some sense. I mean, he is in his zone, but now just that gap is a little bit wider and Foles can try to make this throw. But what I like about this from White is watch this read. Now, admittedly, Foles was hit as he was thrown, which is why that ball was a little bit wobbly, but I don't think that mattered, to be quite honest. I think that if Foles made that one at the right time, I think White is still probably at the very least getting a hand on it because he read that play so well. He was looking at Foles the entire time, ready to make a break on the ball, and he happened to get the interception. Maybe he would have gotten more on the run back had he not slipped and fallen, but really a good read by White, if nothing else. That's really a lot of what I look for when I'm talking about a defensive player who is going to be in zone coverage, is what kind of reads do you make, especially with a linebacker. What are the reads that you're making? And I do feel like White does a pretty good job of making these very quick reads. So like on this play, this is setting up as though it's going to be a cover 4, but it's actually a disguise and it's going to be a cover 3. And so because of this disguise, this now means that Devin White is going to be in charge of covering the flat all the way up on the top half of the screens. And that's actually a bad situation for Tampa Bay just because of those two routes right there, basically. So the receiver on the top half of the screen is going to run deep, pushing the Tampa Bay player who is going to be in charge of covering the top third of the screen further deep as well. Then they send their halfback into where Devin White is supposed to be covering, but White is currently lined up with the halfback. So he's going to have a long distance to cover, and it's basically going to be a foot race here. But after the ball is snapped, you look at how quickly Devin White is going to turn and just bolt in that direction. Now, he's already supposed to get in that direction, but he wouldn't necessarily have to get there as quickly as possible if there was no other player running in that area. But since he sees Fournette is running in that area, he now knows that he also has to get to the top half of the screen as quick as possible. So because of that, he is able to run over, he's able to get the Fournette, make a very quick tackle, and bring him down. And that's just an impressive play. I mean, he saw what Fournette was about to do instantly, ran over, and made a play. I mean, that's what you want out of a linebacker who's playing coverage. Just be smart, be aware, and White was both of those things. And it, of course, also helps that he has the speed just to get over there. I mean, that's the other part of it, is Devin White is just a very quick guy. That obviously helps. And those things actually sort of play into the fact that one other thing White did pretty well for Tampa Bay was blitz. And, if you're going to be a defensive player in the Todd Bowles system, I don't care if you're a linebacker, if you're a safety, if you're a cornerback, you're going to have to blitz because he has everybody rush the passer at a certain point. And so you're going to have to find a way to be good at that. And Devin White absolutely is a very good blitzing linebacker. So like on this play, the way it's going to work for Jacksonville is that their right guard and their center are going to be double teaming an interior lineman, and then they're going to have their left guard block another interior lineman, which will clear up a little bit of space in the middle, but that's okay for Jacksonville. What they're going to do in case somebody does blitz is that they're going to have Fournette just run right like that. And since Devin White is going to be the one who is blitzing, that's the way this play is going to work. And so after the ball is snapped, if you look at White, basically Fournette is trying to block White straight up. He's trying to get his left arm sort of on White's shoulder pad, see if he can push him out of the way. Basically, he wants to give his quarterback as much time as possible to potentially make this throw. But that's a bad idea. White is easily able to throw him aside and run over and get to Minshew. Minshew has to just toss it away. And that's what White can do very well, is he can sort of just get around guys like that. A halfback trying to block him is always going to be a favorable matchup for Tampa Bay. And honestly, that's what I tell halfbacks sometimes. Just deliver one hit. Don't necessarily worry too much about trying to block a guy straight up like that. Honestly, White isn't the kind of guy you can block straight up. You have to just deliver the one hit because he's just a tough guy to block. And it's not just with power either. It is with speed. This play is going to be an example of that, where a pretty similar thing is going to happen at first. The center and right guard are each going to sort of split like that. Tampa Bay, they know that White is going to be blitzing, so they're kind of trying to just basically create a gap for White to get through. It's sort of like a flip side of a running play in a sense, but obviously it's very different because in a running play, the defense knows to be prepared to try to clog up a hole, whereas on a play like this, the offense obviously isn't really too concerned about that. And since Atlanta is going to be running play action on this play, this now means that basically the halfback will be the one guy who can try to get in the way of White because they don't have any other protection on this play. But the problem with that is going to be, watch how quickly White is able to run through and get through that gap. And at this point, while there is a halfback who is in the way, there's not really enough space for him to try to get over and try to get to White and knock him out of the way. White is basically like a freight train. He just runs by him and is able to take Matt Ryan down just like that. I mean, what do you do if you're Matt Ryan at that point? Absolutely nothing. That's one of those you gotta just take the sack and move on. And it's hard to really blame a halfback in that play because White just got there so quickly. Honestly, you'd have liked to see the offensive line maybe find a way to pick him up, but how could they have when, you have Vita Vea and Sue both sitting there on the line? You got to be prepared for those guys. So that's what makes White so successful. He plays in a system that plays to his strengths, but also his strengths play to this system, which is why Tampa Bay drafted him in the first place. I'll show one more example of him rushing the passer. What's going to happen on this play is that White's job is actually not really too much to be just trying to rush the passer. He wants to run to the right guard's right side of his body, which will push the right guard over like that. He then blocks White. Then they can send an edge rusher in between the guard and the center. Hopefully he can get a straight shot to Ryan. If not that, at least a favorable matchup. That's the way they draw this play up. And so after the ball is snapped, as you look, the guard does sort of realize that, okay, this is a twist. They're just trying to mix things up here. I'm going to just sort of push White a little bit, make sure he gets over. But at the end of the day, I have to block Jason Pierre-Paul over there. Got to make sure I block him. But the problem with that is that when a tackle tries to pick up White, he's just not going to be able to. And once again, White is able to get to Matt Ryan for a sack. And that's something that you'll see happen every now and then, but you'll rarely see a middle linebacker pull that off. Oftentimes when you see somebody pull a move off like that, it's just a defensive lineman or even an interior lineman just pushing a player over. But what White did was he was able to do it with speed. He so quickly got there that, by the time the guard was trying to get off and try to make sure he blocked Pierre-Paul, White was in a good enough position that he was able to just run through and get to Ryan. It's that blend of strength and speed that it honestly makes you think that White could probably be a defensive end if he tried. I mean, he's obviously way more well-suited to be a middle linebacker, but I mean, I could see him being a role player, a rotational defensive end. I really could. He's that kind of talent, and obviously he's way better as an inside linebacker, but hey, if he had to play outside linebacker for a snap or two, he can do it. And of course, I said he can do everything, so I've already talked about him being able to play well in coverage and him being able to blitz well, so what else is there? Well, there's the running game, and the running game is a very important part of the middle linebacker position. And there's a reason why Tampa Bay had such a good run defense all year, and a big part of it was through Devin White. So like on this play, it's going to be a run to the left side of the screen, and for Atlanta, they're going to have their left tackle run out to block Devin White. And so watch how right after the ball is snapped, he runs over to try to get in position. But you look at White, and notice how much of White's body is to the left side of that tackle. Almost all of it, to the point where the tackle pretty much only has his left arm making contact with White at this point. White quickly realized it was going to be a run to the left, so he quickly got over there. That might not look like a big deal, but he's then able to easily push off, and he's fast enough to run over and make that play. That's just a tremendous play by Devin White, to have the awareness to quickly get over, have the strength to get off the tackle, and then have the speed to run over and make the tackle and finish that play. I mean, it's everything you need in a linebacker Devin White has. He is clearly a star in the making, I think. What he was able to do this rookie season was just truly impressive. It really was. He's a really good player, and I look forward to seeing him play for hopefully a really long time.